This is Alex Osina. If we as Americans can claim to have had a love affair with the automobile for some 70-odd years, what description could we possibly give to our romance with the Iron Horse? Think about that. Electric trains for Christmas, visits to relatives, soldiers leaving and returning from conflict, trains and plays and motion pictures, vacations to deserts, mountains, and the sea. There was the Lincoln and Kennedy funeral trains, circus trains, and of course in 1976 the famed Freedom Train. Are we too old to remember the sound of what we called the lonesome whistle, a steam locomotive in the night that told us that the 806 was right on time, and that everything was all right with the world? Reassuring that. And what about songs? Songs that were sad, sentimental, work songs, songs of America growing larger and stronger and united by a network of steel rail tying us to citizens in Denver, Chicago, New Orleans, and Los Angeles.
Gonna take a sentimental journey, gonna set my heart at ease, gonna make a sentimental journey to renew old memories. Got my bag, got my reservation, spent each dime I could afford, like a child in wild anticipation, long to hear that all aboard. 7, that's the time we leave at 7. I'll be waiting up for heaven, counting every mile of railroad track that takes me back. Never thought my heart could be so yearning. Why did I decide to roam? Gotta take that sentimental journey, sentimental journey home, sentimental journey.
Odyssey Railbound, a radio journey into the past, present, and future of American rail travel, is brought to you by Kingston Travel Center.
America's getting into training. This is Mary O'Reilly of Kingston Travel Center. Amtrak has shaped up their train system to make training even easier and better than ever before. With a well-balanced route system serving the traveling public's needs, they've been able to concentrate on convenience, service, and reliability, making touring easier for you. Kingston Travel Center can get you into training at very low rates. Check out our numerous money-saving rail package plans. Hotel and rental car arrangements are booked at a combination unit price for each destination. You may link as many locales as you wish in your travel itinerary. You can even journey with up to 3 other persons, sharing the same room and rental car for the same price and split the cost. Learn more at Kingston Travel Center, 236 Clinton Avenue, Kingston. Call Kingston Travel at 331-7881.
Mind pictures keep you busy when you're waiting for a train. Of course, there's anticipation of the journey ahead, and yet there's adventure just being here at Rhinecliff Station. The Hudson River laps at the shore only yards away. The night smells of a recent rain, and drops of water still drip from the platform overhang. On the river, a buoy enhances the stillness. Was it that long ago that the steam giants of the New York Central disturbed the tranquility of nights like this? The Empire State Express, the 20th Century Limited, were they here in this little part of New York? remember the station master at Rhinecliff, Ray Palmera, taking pride in his landmark.
You know, they like our station because it's pretty historical and, you know, clean, and so they're kind of impressed.
That pride is born of a rebirth of passenger rail service. You see, Ray is a member of the Amtrak rail system. 9 years ago, there was a revived government interest in passenger service on America's railroads, so Congress decided to partially fund our declining railroads. The reasons were varied, for who would foresee 9 years ago that energy and fuel shortages would plague us as they do now? Think back 9 years. If you took a train, it never departed or arrived on time, the cars were unkempt, the windows dirty, equipment was continuously breaking down, and tracks were in ill repair, so that your ride was noisy and uncomfortable. Yes, they were ready to kiss rail travel goodbye. Even Arlo Guthrie, whose dad Woody took many a free ride on the freight side of America's railroads, was nostalgically singing a swan song to America's trains.
Riding on the city of New Orleans, Illinois Central, Monday morning rail. 15 cars and 15 restless riders, 3 conductors and 25 sacks of mail. All along the southbound Odyssey, the train pulls out at Kankakee and rolls along past houses, farms, and fields, passing trains that have no name, and freight yards full of old black men, and the graveyards of the rusted automobiles. Good morning, America, how are you? Said, don't you know me, I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done. Dealing card games with the old man in the club cars. Penny a point, ain't no one keeping score. At the paper bag that holds the bottle, and feel the wheels rumbling neath the floor. And the sons of pullman porters and the sons of engineers ride their father's magic carpet made of steel. Mothers with their babes asleep are rocking to the gentle beat, and the rhythm of the rail is all they feel. Good morning, America, how are you? Said, don't you know me, I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done. Nighttime on the city of New Orleans, changing cars in Memphis, Tennessee. Halfway home and we'll be there by morning. Through the Mississippi darkness, rolling down to the sea. But all the towns and people seem to fade into a bad dream, and the steel rail still ain't heard the news. The conductor sings his songs again, the passengers will please refrain. This train got the disappearing railroad blues. Good night, America, how are you? Said, don't you know me, I'm your native son. I'm the train they call the city of New Orleans. I'll be gone 500 miles when the day is done.
Trains haven't died. Well, what has changed? The station master, Ray Palmera, said this.
A lot has improved. There's more of a commitment toward mass transit and different forms of transportation other than our cars. The government seems to be more interested in making Amtrak a more viable means of transportation.
Viable? I suppose 6,000 miles of travel on Amtrak will tell me something. Rhinecliff to Los Angeles and back. The station loudspeaker interrupts the stillness.
May I have your attention, please? Train number 76 from Albany to New York City will be here in approximately 3 minutes. Train to New York in 3 minutes.
Not my train. I'm going north on the Lakeshore Limited. The stillness returns, and then a light piercing the night to the north. Coming closer. The sound of a bell. The sound unlike any train ever heard. More like a jet than a train. Its white sleekness coming into the depot, disputing its turn-of-the-century surroundings. An Amtrak turboliner, subtle power in its lines.
New York train, smoker to the right, no smoker on your left.
The passengers board. The turboliner slips out of Rhinecliff with the hiss of its powerful turbo engine. It's quiet once again.
Odyssey, Railbound, a saga of rail travel, will continue following this message from Kingston Travel Center.
America's getting into training. This is Mary O'Reilly of Kingston Travel Center. Amtrak has shaped up their train system to make training even easier and better than ever before. With a well-balanced route system serving the traveling public's needs, they've been able to concentrate on convenience, service, and reliability, making touring easier for you. Kingston Travel Center can get you into training at very low rates. Check out our numerous money-saving rail package plans. Hotel and rental car arrangements are booked at a combination unit price for each destination. You may link as many locales as you wish in your travel itinerary. You can even journey with up to 3 other persons, sharing the same room and rental car for the same price and split the cost. Learn more at Kingston Travel Center, 236 Clinton Avenue, Kingston. Call Kingston Travel at 331-7881.
And here it comes, right on time, the Lakeshore Limited. Ray Palmera, the station master, makes sure I get aboard.
He's in a roomette.
You're going to roomette?
I know, well, it's way off the platform. He can't get off the platform.
Oh, they're way off the platform?
So he'll have to walk through.
Okay. Ready? Got it? Yeah. Thanks a million. Thanks a million, Ray. Right, it's been great.
And the porter checks me out.
You want to sleep with us? Yes, sir. This way.
And we move from car to car. Through the dining car and the lounge car. And finally, we're situated in our roomette. It's compact, comfortable, private restroom, sink, closet, and of course a bunk that can be folded into the wall, mirror individual lights and climate control. The Lakeshore Limited is comprised of all reconditioned cars, a great train to remind you of the grandeur of railroading. As we head north toward Albany and we settle in, I make my way to the lounge car. This will be my headquarters during my waking hours. The decor pleasant, with a small snack bar at the ends serving sandwiches, soda pop, coffee, and other relaxing beverages. And best of all, here I can converse with my fellow passengers in an informal atmosphere. Time passes quickly when you're enjoying yourself with other people. A train is a world unto itself. There seems to be little connection with the 80-mile-an-hour passing countryside. The people, the conductors and trainmen, the porters and waiters are all part of it. It's as though you were in a time capsule, hurtling through time and space that have nothing to do with the here and now. This world of some 300 individuals is your living atmosphere for whatever time you've chosen. And for me, it'll be 3.5 days there and the same back. So, what you do is ask a young lady from Utica, New York, why she took the train.
It's a nice way to travel. You can go walk around, meet people, and you don't have to worry about driving and getting gas, and probably even cheaper to ride the train than it is to drive somewhere with the price of gas now.
Her name is Cindy Kramer, and she's going to Denver to see her sister, and I ask her how she likes the Amtrak personnel and the trip.
Be very friendly.
Helpful. Yeah, very friendly. I've been real pleased with the trip, all the way around.
Then there's Don Reels of Casanova, New York. He's an engineer for Conrail, and but for a day or so in time, he might well have been the fellow up front on this trip. You see, engineers, conductors, and brakemen really work for whatever system an Amtrak train rides on. On this train, we'll be riding Conrail, Burlington Northern, Union Pacific, and the Santa Fe. But Don is on a busman's holiday riding the Lakeshore Limited to Chicago. Naturally, we talk about trains. And he tells me about safety features on a modern diesel locomotive.
And then some of the newer equipment on the turbo trains, they have in the tape that it's registering with the speedometer of the locomotive. And also on that tape, every time the engineer blows the horn in the bell, there's a little mark on the tape. If something happens, proper authorities pull the tape and they read it, and to determine if he was going over the speed limit or under the speed limit, if he was had his horn and his bell on. They have a alerter system, which is an electrical circuit in the seat, and it has to be that you have to move or make a movement every 20 seconds, and you have to complete this circuit, or else the air in the train will apply and it will come to a halt. They have a dead man feature, which is a pedal that you have to keep your foot on. If you release your foot from the pedal, the air is going to apply and the train is going to come to a stop.
And of course, you also have two-way radio communication between stations and station masters.
Right, and we also have an overspeed system on the engine where if you're going over the speed limit, you have to acknowledge that you've exceeded that limit and reduce your speed at once or face the penalty of going into emergency.
Very good. So in other words, the engine itself takes care of a lot of things, doesn't it?
It does. It's a lot different, I imagine, than one of my grandparents and my uncles first started on the railroad to what it is now.
Now, Don could be a doctor or a dentist. His bearded features belie his profession. Is railroading new to him? Not at all. He's been on the road for 14 years.
My grandfather, 4 or 5 of his sons, myself, and the last of the family. It's on the railroad now. And I have 2 sons of my own. If they wanted a choice, when they're old enough, if they'd like to work on the railroad, that'd be fine.
You really like that, then?
I enjoy it. I like to operate the trains. I also like to ride on them.
I asked Don about on-time performance of trains, and he gives me one reason why it's better these days.
Well, that's an incentive. Amtrak pays Conrail an incentive to bring their train in on time. The crews try to do their best, working within the speed limits and proper operation of the train to get the train in as close on time as they can.
Don runs Amtrak trains from Syracuse to Buffalo and Niagara Falls, and also east from Syracuse to Albany.
It's a great place to work. It's a good job, and I just like what I'm doing.
The movement of the train and the hour combine to remind you that possibly a night's rest would be welcome as you make your way back to your roomette. There's a little regret. Why should sleep rob you of the experience of continuous social engagement? Yet you find there's even satisfaction in sleeping on this track-borne metal world. The movement rhythmically puts you into a state of slumber. The last thing you remember is a railroad song.
From the great Atlantic Ocean to the wild Pacific shore, from sunny California to ice-bound Labrador, she's mighty tall and handsome, she's known quite well by all. She's proposed accommodation on the Wabash Cannonball. Listen to the jingle, the rumble and the roar as she glides along the woodlands through the hills and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engine, lonesome hobo squaw, while riding through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball. This train, she runs to Memphis, but to New Mexico. She throws to St. Louis and never does it slow. As she flies to Colorado, she gives an awful squall. They tell her by her whistle she's the Wabash Cannonball. States are dandy, so the people always say. From New York to St. Louis and Chicago by the way. From the hills of Minnesota where the rippling waters fall, no changes can be taken on the Wabash Cannonball. Let's listen to the jingle, the rumble and the roar as she glides along the woodlands to the hills and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engine, hear the lonesome hobo squall, while traveling through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball. Now here's to Boston Blackie, may his name forever stand, and always be remembered by the boys throughout the land. His earthly days are over and the curtains round him fall. We'll carry him home to victory on the Wabash Cannonball. And let's listen to the jingle, the rumble and the roar, riding through the woodlands, through the hills and by the shore. Hear the mighty rush of the engine, lonesome hobo squall, while riding through the jungle on the Wabash Cannonball.
You wake up somewhere in Indiana, wash, shave, dress, and then you go to the dining car for a splendid pancake breakfast. And you note that the food is homemade and good, the service fine, the price not outrageous. Then, back to the club car. The countryside is farm country, flat, and winter wheat is starting to show, just about. Large grain elevators are situated close to the tracks. Later, to your right, you note an expanse of water. Well, you're told it's Lake Michigan. The fellow who tells you is a mate aboard a Great Lakes ore carrier and tells you tales of the Great Lakes as good as any sea story out of New Bedford. Time for lunch. And then you make ready to change trains in Chicago. So long, Lakeshore Limited. See you on the way home.
Odyssey Railbound returns following this message from Kingston Travel Center.
You don't have to be a pioneer to blaze your own trail across the United States using Amtrak trains, Holiday Inn hotels, and Hertz rental cars. This is Mary O'Reilly of Kingston Travel Center. When you get into training, you have free rein to go where and when you please for as long as you want to travel. You can see more of America with an unbeatable combination of rail and road. Kingston Travel Center offers you low-rate rail package plans with hotel and rental car arrangements. Find out how you can travel with up to 3 other people sharing the same room and rental car and split the price 4 ways. Best of all, find out how you can travel in comfort, at your convenience, and see more of the country better than you can any other way. Get into training, the new era of rail travel at Kingston Travel Center, 236 Clinton Avenue, Kingston. Call Kingston Travel at 331-7881.
A short cross time, I'm on my way back home. The train I ride is the queen of them all, the streamlined cannonball. Her headlight gleams out in the night, her firebox flash you see. It's the blonde I like, but the white that I love, Lord, that's home, sweet home to me. A long steel rail, a short cross tie, I'm on my way back home. The train I ride is the queen of them all, the streamlined cannonball. I can see the smile of that engineer, although he's old and gray. Content at heart, he waits for the call of that streamlined cannonball. A long steel rail, a short cross tie, I'm on my way back home. The train I ride is the queen of them all, the streamlined cannonball. Wow, 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 it's a whistle you hear, the streamlined cannonball.
A 3-hour layover in Chicago, And I'm off again on the San Francisco Zephyr, going west on the tracks of the Burlington Northern, and later on the Union Pacific to Ogden, Utah, where I'll change again to a train called the Desert Wind. Through the Great Plains and into the Rockies, the sights are breathtaking. There's a party that night in the lounge car, and I get a chance to talk to the lounge car attendant. Leela Janakovsky is a California lady who loves her work. Combination hostess, bartender, stewardess. She told us one of the reasons why.
You come in contact with different people every day, let alone every trip. You know, it's never the same. It's always, it could be one person can change it, can make it beautiful, or you can have one salty person come in and it's a challenge to turn them around, and they'll be smiling and putting their arm around you and, you know, singing with you by the end of the trip. It's really fun.
Asked what's happening on the trains now, this is what she said.
Public support is with us for 1 year now, whereas before it was it was so much apathy. Nobody wanted the train. Anybody that got on the train was either just like for the old, they wanted to see the old heritage. The heritage of the train is so beautiful that there's just like very few people that were into the nostalgia of the train, and it's really not the same as it was, you know, but it's going to take time, it's going to take public support, it's going to take more enthusiastic employees out here working, and I think we're starting out now. I think this is, I would call this year one, because we've got the people riding now.
Yeah, you think that's probably because of the gas shortage?
I think it is. Yes, I do. I really do, because I was involved in the training program of Los Angeles new hires last May, and the gas crunch hit right on the week I got there. And immediately, one train between Los Angeles and San Diego increased ridership, I think 450% in 1 week. And they had to put on 6 new trains, and the trains are booked every day. So, you know, I mean, when you start having people coming back and back and back, it's got to grow. It's got to get better.
Do you hear that whistle down the line? I figure that it's engine number 49. She's the only one that'll sound that way on the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe. See the old smoke rising round the bend. I reckon that she knows she's gonna meet a friend. Folks around these parts get the time of day from the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe. Here she goes. Passengers is mighty big, and they all want lifts to Brown's Hotel, 'cause lots of them been traveling for quite a spell, all the way from Philadelphia on the Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe.
The Rockies, unlike our own Catskills, were born of earthquakes and great turbulence. Our mountains were formed by the great glaciers during the Ice Age. The difference is at once apparent to the eye. The Rockies are stark and jagged, awesome. They have a grandeur and beauty that is incomparable. The mile-high city of Denver might be called the gateway to the Rockies, much as our own Kingston is the gateway to the Catskills. But there the similarity ceases. Denver, as you enter, is hidden under a cloud of smog. You observe large smokestacks pouring smoke, and the sun just can't make it through. Even the train's air conditioning can't filter out the sulfur-like smell of the air. But it's in Denver that I fulfill a dream that has dwelled in every child's mind since the advent of train travel. I'm allowed to travel in the engine cab of the San Francisco Zephyr.
What you're listening to now is the sound of the San Francisco Zephyr leaving Denver. And we're in the cab of the San Francisco Zephyr. We'll be riding along a little bit and talking with the engineer and listening to some of the sounds of Amtrak as we head westward towards L.A.
There'll be one that'll be red down there.
coming out of the yards in Denver now.
It's going to be lined across to the inbound. Outbound is a lot better. I like to put on the inbound too.
What's that squawk?
That is the alert or safety feature, which means the engineer has to touch something every approximately 10 to 15 seconds, or you get a 6-second alarm, and should he fail to touch something then, to reset it, it gets a penalty application of the air brakes.
Thank you. Now, before Denver, we were riding the Burlington. Are we on the Union Pacific now?
Yes, sir. You're on the Union Pacific, all the way to Ogden, Utah now.
What are those signals that the fireman and engineer give to each other?
Well, they call the block signals as you approach them to confirm the aspect each block signal is displaying. And it's also a hand signal given just in case, due to the noise of the engine, the vocal description should not be complete or misunderstood.
Specifically, what does the fireman do?
The fireman has to maintain the steam generators, and should any problems develop with the locomotive, make minor repairs if it's within his capability, and be in the cab with the engineer to assist him as necessary.
Now, at this point, you're just going to be listening to some of the sounds that are happening inside the cab of the San Francisco Zephyr as we move on toward Ogden, Utah. Speeding up now. We're actually moving on to the main line now, is that it?
Yes, sir. We're on the main line now. After you once passed that York Street, this is considered a main track.
What are the approximate speeds we should be making?
You will be allowed to run a maximum of 79 miles an hour unless otherwise restricted due to curvature of the track or slow orders, something to that effect.
Your name is what, by the way?
My name is Art Dismukes, road foreman of engines.
Very good. If you've never been in the cab of a railroad engine before, well, your ears are now, that's for sure. And what you're hearing is a super diesel that will be taking us over the Rockies, right into Ogden, Utah. Now, you're the engineer, right?
Yes.
And your name?
Virgil Wolf.
Right, and you work for Union Pacific.
Yeah, I've been at Union Pacific for 34 years.
That means you... You've been here through steam and through diesel and all that sort of jazz, huh?
That's right.
And how do you feel about these new engines?
Well, they're a lot nicer engines. It makes nicer working conditions.
Ever nostalgic for the old steam ones?
Oh yes, I love the old steamer, but they had its drawbacks, of course.
What were they?
Well, being dirty, hot, noisy, so forth like that.
With a full head of steam, just how fast could you go?
Well, with it all depends on your driving wheels. You know what your dimension of your driving wheel was. On our passenger engine, which was the 800s, they had a 74-inch drivers. They was capable of running 90 and 100 mile an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
Could you explain some of the instrumentation here? For instance, where would the dead man stick be that they were talking about?
Well, it'd be right down by where he's got his foot, except it'd be right there on the, right in front of the engineer, so his normal position of his foot would be on the safety control pedal.
And then that thing with the numbers on it, that's the throttle, and that has to do with your speed.
That's right. That's the RPM of the engine, which turns the generator, which makes the electricity that propels it.
Generally speaking, what would you pair this control room with? An airplane, an automobile, a big diesel truck, what?
Well, it wouldn't compare with an airplane because they've got a lot more gauges and controls, and I'm not. Of course, there's a lot more of them you find in a truck, but there's only one engine. So really, it's a panel all by itself. Really, it's
individual unto itself.
That's right. Well, each switch and each gauge has its purposes on it, of course.
What do some of those gauges mean?
Well, your air gauges. The one on the left, of course, is what's called the equalizing reservoir. The one in the middle of the white hands are your main reservoir, and the one on the third one over, which is your safety control air, and then the farthest ones over is your amp meter. That tells you the amount of amps that you have running to your traction motors.
Which do you prefer running, freight or passenger?
Well, I prefer passenger for the simple reason that you do have the preference. You have the preference over the other trains, and on freight trains, of course, you pretty well follow the guy ahead of you.
Now, that's quite a change now from what they used to have, isn't it? Freights used to be #1 priority, right?
Not freight, no. Passenger, always the Union Pacific Streamliners always had the priority. They didn't delay those. You had to clear those trains all the time, 10 minutes. And if you didn't clear them in 10 minutes, with 10 minutes time they'd do where you were, well, a lot of times they would fire you. They'd discipline. Fire you for 60 or 90 days just because you didn't clear them for 10 minutes.
Then what happened when Amtrak took over? They changed that?
No, it's still... the only difference after Amtrak came along is it centralized controlled all of your trackage. Now your dispatcher handles the signals, he handles the side tracks, and now he'll move a freight train over or move Amtrak over to one of the other tracks and advance him around a freight train. Well, back in those days, you had to take siding. That was the engineer's responsibility, to be able to determine when a streamliner was due at the station in your rear, and you had to clear him 10 minutes, in some cases 15 minutes.
Of course, you didn't have two-way radio either, did you?
Oh, no. He had to do that by his watch and by his running time. That was all figured that way. So it was strictly up on the engineer's responsibility then to figure the running time and be able to go to a certain point and be in the clear the time this streamliner was due. So if he didn't do that, that's when he was disciplined.
Odyssey Railbound boards the Desert Wind to California following this message from Kingston Travel Center.
America's getting into training. This is Mary O'Reilly of Kingston Travel Center. Amtrak has shaped up their train system to make training even easier and better than ever before. With a well-balanced route system serving the traveling public's needs, they've been able to concentrate on convenience, service, and reliability, making touring easier for you. Kingston Travel Center can get you into training at very low rates. Check out our numerous money-saving rail package plans. Hotel and rental car arrangements are booked at a combination unit price for each destination. You may link as many locales as you wish in your travel itinerary. You can even journey with up to 3 other persons, sharing the same room and rental car for the same price and split the cost. Learn more at Kingston Travel Center, 236 Clinton Avenue, Kingston. Call Kingston Travel at 331-7881.
In Laramie, Wyoming, I become a passenger again aboard the Zephyr and watch the full moon over the Rockies from the Vista Dome car. There's snow on the ground, and the sight fills me with awe. I spend the night in the Vista Dome, mesmerized. The desert wind is waiting for me when we get to Ogden at about midnight. Some sleep, and I wake up to a vista of mountains and desert, sand, cliffs, and jagged clefts in the terrain. The wonderment of the beauty and desolation of this country boggles my mind. Now in the cafe car of this Amfleet train, I pass through Utah, Nevada, and into California. Wes Matthews is the conductor on the run from Las Vegas to Barstow. He and his 2 trainmen, Jack Layton and Leon Williams, take a moment out to tell me about America's largest desert, the Mojave.
A month from now, you'll see a lot of pretty desert flowers in this country. Easter lilies and sand lilies and sand verbenias. Man, they'll be covered. They'll just have the ground out here covered with flowers.
It's been 2 or 3 years since I've been here, and these fellows have been here, that you couldn't walk out on the desert when the flowers were in bloom without stepping on a flower. They were that thick.
Really? Well, that's the time that I'd love to be here.
Do about a month from now.
What kind of cactus do you usually have out there?
They have every kind imaginable around there.
I noticed the cactus trees that they had.
Prickly pear, and then barrel cactus, and what's that kind that's just on the ground with the thick blooms on it?
Flat leaves?
Yeah. What do they call that? Beaver tail in it.
Prickly pear or the...
beaver tail in it.
Some call it the beaver tail.
No, it looks like a beaver's tail, a big wide leaf. They got real pretty blooms on them, all different colors. The grass is just now coming up on the hills. Flowers will be out in about a month. Sand dunes don't show up very good on a cloudy day. They don't show the white sand. I think it's rained over there.
They've got an old saying about this sand dune. They say that there's a wagon load of whiskey buried under the sand dunes. There've been a lot of people talk about it over the 35 years around here. The guy had to cut his team loose and leave the wagon sitting there. That'd be well-aged whiskey if the guy could find it.
Well, I got to L.A., spent a week in the sun, and suntanned but not overwhelmed, was ready to get back to Kingston and home. But for time, I'd love to tell you of the trip back. It was as eventful as going. Returning on the desert wind, I met a 28-year-old Air Force pilot who flew F-16 fighter planes. Bob and 2 lady co-workers had chosen Amtrak for their trip home to Ogden from Las Vegas. Why?
Could have very easily gotten a ticket and flown home. The Air Force would have paid for it just the same as they're paying for the train ticket. But I fly for a living, and it just gets very old after a while. And I've got 2 lovely ladies with me and a jug of Bloody Marys, and I'm just ready to relax. I've had a long 2 weeks, very hard, flying every day, and I'm ready to relax, so I'm going to take the train. The number one advantage to me is the ability to relax. I absolutely never am able to relax flying a commercial airliner. I am very, very nervous being a pilot, not having controls over my own destiny. I don't feel nervous when I'm flying the airplane, but when somebody else is, I don't like it. So the train to me is very relaxing.
Greg Hill of Ames, Iowa, was on the Lakeshore Limited coming back, and he said what I'd been thinking for quite a while over those 2 weeks.
I think we're all going to be riding a lot more trains. I think it's definitely a transportation of the future. In respect of personal need, that's on an individual instance basis only. I mean, there's just, boy, you know, with a family, if you want to travel 1,000 miles to go to Disneyland or something like that, I think you'd have an awful hard time beating the rail system. Even in this day and age, I think it'd become even more so as the cost of energy goes up. And it's going to go up. I think we all understand that. As far as capacity, wise, comparing train to airplane and everything else, increasing the capacity of the train is minor problem at all. Whereas the increase in capacity of an airplane, takes a whole new engineering defeat or whatever.
For a while, a short 7 days, I saw America from a train. And then I was home.
And we're slowing down now for Rhinecliff. And here it goes. We're on the platform at the moment. Lakeshore Limited, leaving Rhinecliff, going to New York. And we bid farewell to our trains, having gone coast to coast. Goodbye for a while, Amtrak. We'll see you again, I'm sure.
This is Alex Osina.
Odyssey Railbound was written, produced, and directed by Alex Osina. Conrail engineer Earl Pardini performed Wabash Cannonball. Odyssey Railbound has been brought to you by the Kingston Travel Center, 236 Clinton Avenue, Kingston. Call 331-7881. This is Marshall Miles.
I wanna feel the wind blowing through my toes. I wanna feel the pounding of the engine as she goes and blows, blows and blows. That sunshine special coming around the bend. I hear the whistle blowing in the night. I hear the whistle blowing in the night. I hear the whistle blowing in the night. Gonna take that special and leave you far behind. I'll ride it to the end of the line. I'll ride it to the end of the line. Gonna ride way out to the end of the line. It has 100 coaches coming up round the bend, but you can't ever see it rolling end to end. And it's six-wheel driver, let me get on board. I want to feel the wind blowing through my toes. I want to feel the pounding of the engine as she goes and blows, blows and blows. I used to think your loving was so mighty fine, but baby, then you brought me to the end of the line. And it's six-wheel driver, let me get on board. I want to feel the wind